Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new year, 2015, the Way Too Indiecast, new year for waytooindie.com. I think this is going to be our best year ever, so everybody stick with us. But for now, we're going to take a look back before we leap forward. We're going to take a look back at 2014, the highlights, different things that went on, and what we thought about the year as a whole. And after that, on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the Golden Globe Awards, which are coming up, and our predictions for who we think are going to win in each of those categories, which is always fun. I love prediction pieces like that. But to start off with our retrospective, oh, by the way, I should probably mention I'm joined by Ananda Dillon.
Hello.
And Dustin Jancic.
Hello.
I love you guys. I'm sorry. I got caught up in the moment.
It became a one-man show.
Yeah, it became a one-man show. I'm just taking this away. But no, seriously, these guys are awesome. We Ananda and Dustin have written some really great pieces recently on the website, which you guys should all check out. A lot of cool features. But to start this conversation off, I'm just going to quickly go through Way Too Indie's top 10 movies of 2014. Very quickly, number 10 was David Fincher's Gone Girl. Number 9 was Paweł Pawlikowski's Ida. I think it's Ida, right? Not Ida.
I think you're right. I always said Ida, but
I
think
I never thought about it.
I think it's Ida, but we'll move on anyways. Number 8 was our dark horse, Winter Sleep, which made it very high, which is really cool. Number 7, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson's best film in my opinion. Number 6, Damien Chazelle's Whiplash, which I have a bone to pick with Dustin about that one later. Number 5, The Lego Movie, which was actually our number 1 movie at the halfway mark of 2014. Number 4, my favorite movie of the year, Under the Skin. Number 3 was The Vivacious Birdman, the spiraling Birdman. Number 2 was The Haunting Nightcrawler, starring a really scary-looking Jake Gyllenhaal. And before I get to the number 1, guys, I'm gonna take this in a different direction here. I'm gonna read a little excerpt from a book. I've just jumped into Jay Hoberman's book, Film After Film, and I read a wonderful little piece here. He actually quotes Andrei Tarkovsky, the amazing director who, of course, directed Solaris and Andrei Rublev and many other classic films. But here, before we get to our number 1, I'm going to quote Andrei Tarkovsky from Jay Hoberman's book about what he thought about the art of cinema at the time the Lumieres invented it. Okay, so this is Tarkovsky talking about the Lumieres at the turn of the 20th century. For the first time in the history of the arts, in the history of culture, man found the means to take an impression of time, and simultaneously the possibility of reproducing that time on screen as often as he wanted, to repeat it and to go back to it. He acquired a matrix for actual time. Once seen and recorded, time could now be preserved in metal boxes over a long period, theoretically forever. Time, presented in its factual forms and manifestations, such as the supreme idea of cinema as an art. And that's like one of the most beautiful interpretations of cinema as an art form I've ever read.
Yeah.
By Andrei Tarkovsky. And the idea of kind of bottling time is so beautiful. He's talking about what the Lumieres were doing at the turn of the 20th century. Now, in 2015, we're a little further than the turn of the 21st century, but to me, no film in the wake of Y2K, in the wake of 9/11, in the wake of the election of a black president, no film, to me, exemplifies the wonder of bottling time like Richard Linklater's Boyhood. I'll go even further than that. I'll say that no film in the wake of Y2K and 9/11 and Barack Obama has managed to bottle true life, an ordinary life, as beautifully as Boyhood. That was our pick for the best film of 2014, and I thought we made the right choice there.
It shows periods of time in a way that not a lot of films have been able to do in the past. I think it was really quite transcending what it did.
Yeah, I think Boyhood. I think to me that I agree that is the best. It was my favorite film, but it was I think the best film of 2014. It's so it's such a landmark to me as far as cinema goes. A lot is made of how it kind of it plays with time. Linklater's done this before, with other films, but the 12-year production span, of course, is what's most talked about. But I think the veracity of that film, the way it portrays why I've talked to you about this, Dustin, like, why do we love the people we love? And I think it's because they've, simply been there throughout our lives, not through like movies. Other movies will tell you that we love the people we love because of like car crashes and like accidents and things like that, or like, these big, kind of unbelievable things. But Boyhood suggests that we love each other simply because we've just been around each other.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it's unlike a lot of films, especially like coming of age films. Like, you're right, there is no like big car crash. There's no big, huge moments where typically in films you'll see those huge, momentous type moments of your life. And Boyhood was really about the moments in between those moments, which was really, I have found really, really interesting. I kept waiting. There's a few scenes where we've been so classically conditioned for something big to happen.
You expect a car crash.
Yeah, you expect something very bad to happen. I remember there's a house scene when they're in the basement and they're just a bunch of boys are playing in this abandoned house, and they're throwing around
saw blades.
Saw blades, yeah, just like random things from the construction. And I just thought that something very bad was about to happen, like one of the kids would get hit or something, but it doesn't. And I kept waiting for it, and I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen. And I think in a lot of films that would have happened or something along those lines. And that's what I really liked. It was really about it was about life. I mean, simply put, it was about the moments that...
ordinary life. It's brave. Like, it's brave because other movies think life is too boring to represent on screen. But Boyhood says, no, like, this is 12 years of... Like, this boy in Boyhood, he's not, like, the best kid. He's not the worst kid. He's not the most interesting kid.
I was going to say, I'm the most interesting kid. I mean,
yeah.
He's just a kid. I mean, at least I was able to relate to not everything he did, of course, but just certain moments and just certain things. I'm like, wow, that that's what growing up was like, or that's what being at a new school is like. Those kind of moments. I'm just like, wow, it really nailed that down. Now, if you took away the 12-year aspect, which I think would be really difficult to do, but I mean, some say that that might be sort of a gimmick or why people are hyping it up so much. But I mean, what do you think about that? Like, if they were to use different actors, let's just say, would that...
Oh, to represent like the passing of time?
Yeah, like if it didn't take 12 years to make it, would people still be talking about as much or as highly as they are now? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, totally. And it's hard to imagine, but like I really don't think so. And I can say that because I'm not actually a huge Linklater fan. Like, there's a reason I'm not really into the Before movies, and it's because to me they always seem slightly disingenuous. Sure. That nobody would have the stamina to hold a conversation like that for so long over that kind of passing of time. And it was like I sat down to Boyhood not expecting a whole lot, and finally realized he finally figured out the way to have a real conversation. Is those kinds of conversations happen over 12 years? Like the continuous conversations he has with his father and the way that it evolves over time as he gets older, and like what they talk about changes and all of that. But like, it's just so much more believable because it's the two same people, and like it makes so much more sense to me that it would evolve like that. Like, if anything else, also I feel like this movie gave me the most realistic insight into like how boys operate that I ever got, which is also in itself like amazing. But
it is.
Useful.
Well, like
Definitely,
I felt like
useful.
and I think I mentioned this before. I don't know if it was another podcast or just in talking, but like the film could have easily been called Parenthood. I mean, I felt like, I mean, it was.
You
from
wrote
the
that
boys.
in your piece, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I wrote it probably on the site at some point. We've covered the film now a bunch, so. But like, I really feel like you could call it Parenthood because it's shown from the perspective maybe of the boy. So I mean, the title makes sense. But Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette, they're amazing.
I'd say especially Patricia. I mean, she runs away with the film for me.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, and maybe we'll get to that later on in some of our Golden Globes and some of the nomination
segue,
stuff. But
all right.
I think she's definitely the standout here, even though she's maybe not the lead in the film.
Yeah, and gosh, guys, we could talk about Boyhood forever, but we got to move on and talk about the rest of 2014. But I thought that'd be a great place to start because I think Boyhood is a film that's going to rise in people's estimation as the years go on, and we're going to revisit it over and over again. And I fucking love the movie. But anyways, that was our best film of 2014. Let's talk about some other highlights, guys. What did you think of 2014 as a year for film? I know, Dustin, you just wrote an interesting op-ed about that.
Yeah, I think in general, if you talk to just say most critics, I think a lot of them will say that it's kind of a downer year. Now, I don't know if they're saying that it's like the worst year ever. They're kind of complacent a little bit. I just recently wrote a piece on why 2014 wasn't a bad year for movies. The Hollywood Reporter mentioned that it was far from a great year, and the Telegraph mentioned that it was a relatively placid year, and Slate said it was kind of a rough year. So there's all these sort of like, people know it's not this groundbreaking crazy year, but the general perception that it's kind of bad. And I think I don't know, after a close inspection, if it's really bad. It was really a different year, especially with how things were released. If you take a look at our best films of the year, a lot of those, like half of them were released in the first 4 months of the year, which is really strange. So by the time we get to the end of the year, some of those sort of fell in your estimation, maybe even completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm confident that if Grand Budapest came out in the fall, that it would be like the fucking darling to win everything.
Exactly, and that was crazy because it was released back in March, and it's just it's bizarre. That normally doesn't. I mean, that doesn't always happen. Usually, that you'll save sort of the your best films for the end of the year, so it keeps it fresh in the voters' minds. He has such a following that he can kind of do what he wants, and people are going to go see his film. But I do think that it would have probably ended up higher on people's lists if it was released later in the year.
I actually did read a few critics and entertainment news people say that they had their top 10 list picked by end of September. Yeah. And the rest of it was just kind of going through the motions. It was like, really? I mean, I knew this was coming out, but just isn't going to make the list,
That's very true. I mean, if you look at our best list of the year so far, which we do halfway through the year back in June or maybe the very beginning of July, that list isn't all different than what our final list ended up being. Obviously, there's films that we had to add later on, but especially the top few films were films we saw a very long, beginning of the year.
I've also been thinking about this a little, and I've developed also a theory. I think you're totally right that it was a weird time, year for timing of releases, totally. But I also have this other theory, because we can say in some ways that 2014 was a bad year because we had the worst ticket sales in more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Bad there. VOD sales down 6.7% from the year before that. So things are bad there. It wasn't that people just weren't going to the movies. They weren't even watching them at home. So can't explain it there. What I think is just people didn't like their options last year. And that's totally reasonable, because I think I read yesterday or something that the top 14 or so, not just the top 10, almost to the top 15 grossing films of last year were all inspired by pre-existing media franchises, books, toys, other movies, whatever. The first one on that list that isn't is Interstellar. Yeah. And that's at 15. So that's the first original product that made a decent amount of money last year.
Yeah, and that's been an epidemic that's been growing for a long time.
Totally. Even a lot of sequels and franchises that usually make a lot of money, like Mockingjay actually made I think the least amount of the entire Hunger Games series. Spider-Man totally tanked, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And Expendables, even that new Muppets movie, Night at the Museum, The Hobbit did the worst of all the Hobbit movies. Give us some different options. But this is where the real problem is I think we are in a unique place, right? Because we get access to a lot more films, and we're also an indie website, obviously. And so we get to see all these movies that are kind of obscure, and we can find these really great gems. And I think we have found a lot of really good ones from last year. But people didn't see them because they were oversaturated with 1,010 other movies that were just the same old thing, the things they've already seen, just repackaged.
On the blockbuster front, there were some really great blockbusters that came out. I think Marvel put out their two best films they've ever made this year, with Guardians and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was God. It was I love that movie, and no one talks about it. But Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis gives, I think, his best performance in that film. So if anyone's interested in his kind of work, that's his best stuff right there. It's amazing.
The fact that they didn't just all go to those franchise movies, which we know because they didn't actually make that much money, like Spider-Man 2 made like as much as they were predicting it would make, way underperformed, like way and way less than the first one even, which was crazy because everyone hated the first one and thought, well, the second one's got to be better. And like, so the thing is, I actually think that people are listening to, maybe not critics, definitely their friends. I think people are very reliant on getting a recommendation these days. And like all of us people out there on the internet, I think sometimes are those recommendations. And I'm not saying we have any clout, but like that's why I think people are definitely tuning in to like Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, those aggregators, because they want a general consensus from the internet. They don't care if it's the internet of professional critics. They just think internet in general. The internet is the new. Yeah. The internet's the new hangout, right? It's like the place where there are plenty of people and they're all giving an opinion. And if you go to this certain websites, they'll tell you what the entire opinion generally is. And I think people definitely listen to that. I have so many friends who tell me before they even consider a movie, they check out like the IMDb rating or the Rotten Tomatoes rating or one of those other ones. Like they swear by it.
So here's my hope. My hope is that you're right, and that like we're in the middle of a transition where people are not going to take this bullshit anymore. We're not going to want these regurgitated franchise movies, and they're going to the theaters less, like you said. But it could also be, but then there was the first fact you brought up, which was that the first 14 films that made the most money were franchises. So you could look at it in the way that we didn't give as much money to the big franchises, or you could see it as we just didn't give enough money to any movies, like the whole industry. I hope that we're seeing a trend here where people are not accepting these shitty movies as much. I really do. But for me, I'm pretty positive that right now people are still willing to just go to a Hunger Games movie to go to a Hunger Games movie. You know,
a lot of them will.
You know,
obviously.
But I hope that things are going to turn around. But I think this year was like you said, it was bad in the fact that people just only pretty much supported franchise movies.
And I think it was just and to kind of go back, I think the year was just an interesting year because there wasn't any like crazy late end of the season standouts. There were a couple, there always is, there should be. Birdman, Nightcrawler, even Gone Girl, Selma, Whiplash. There are some good films that came out, but I think Ananda was right. I think a lot of the top parts of your overall list were probably already decided earlier on, and then there were ones that were other late season ones like Fury, Theory of Everything, Interstellar, The Hobbit, Imitation Game, The Gambler, Unbroken, Exodus. Like they had a lot of hype, or had some hype anyway, and they kind of were sort of dismissed by most people, at least in their top, say, 10 to 20.
The rejection of Exodus is like the single most thing from 2014 that gives me some real hope for Hollywood's future. Because that's another thing I wanted to bring up, is I really like appreciated how much people kind of rejected the like Hollywood norm of like white male on the screen. Like women-led films are getting much better box office returns. I think like Lucy did really well. Maleficent did really well, even though it wasn't like critically acclaimed by any means. Ava DuVernay, director of Selma, like getting so much like critical buzz around her film. Like, I just think it wasn't like, I'm not going to say overall it's a great year for ladies, or anything like that. But I think people are talking a little bit more like, nah, dude, you're going to make me an Egyptian movie and you're going to put a bunch of white dudes in it. I'm just not buying it. I'm not seeing it.
Well, it's
and
offensive.
Like,
it's offensive.
yeah, exactly. And that's good. I want people, people prove a point by not buying something, and I think Hollywood will listen. And yeah, it's like this slow process, and I get it, but
yeah, it kind of blew up in its face. But then you had, and like so they had like bad press, and then you had something like The Interview, which scored like 20 million.
Let's talk about that, guys.
VOD.
Let's talk about that. So, what was your guys' reaction to that?
There's a lot of things that the Sony hack proved. Like, number one, everyone should be a little more professional with their emails, right? Like, there's that.
God damn.
But I think it also made a good point about VOD releases. I think everyone thought, hey, there's enough buzz around this. We'll release early VOD and like in a very limited theaters, and we might be okay. But if you look at the numbers, especially compared to what they were expecting for a regular theatrical release for it, it's real bad. Like, not nearly what they were expecting. So,
really?
Yeah, which is kind of sad. I still like. I hope we transition. I think VOD is really important, especially for Hollywood. I mean, if I guess I care about the money bags in Hollywood, then I guess I care about VOD because that's their future and they really need that to work. And that was just like a pure example of it really not working, like a heavily buzzed film.
Well, what do you mean it didn't work? I thought it was very successful.
Not if you think about what they were like. There's always expectations for films versus what they actually made, and that one only made.
There's no way they would make back their investment.
No, 15 million in VOD is.
Well, it's 20 million. It was on the first weekend. It was by far Sony's best VOD they've ever done. Like,
that's best anybody's gotten VOD, I think.
I think it's gonna become more of a trend. I think it did. I think it was very successful, and maybe not from what they initially thought, but from what happened. No one expected them to get 20 million on the first day.
I think moving along here, I think we should get into what happened, as you just said. The real story here is that Sony didn't pull, but theaters the film from their theaters, which ended up being a mistake, obviously. But it's a fine line there. I've had arguments with friends and family about this, whether it was the right choice or not to pull it from theaters.
Sony did pull them too. Like, first it was theaters started pulling, then Sony pulled overall, and then Sony said, okay, actually we'll give you the opportunity. If you want to do this, you can. Read
George Clooney's reaction interview to the interview being pulled from theaters. It's fascinating. You got to read it. But anyways, guys, we've got to move on. That was 2014. That was the biggest news story. But again, Boyhood, a monumental film that came out in a year that was largely kind of a placid year for movies as far as artistry. And like Ananda cited, it was a disappointing year at the box office as well. Who knows where this trend is heading in 2015, but we're excited to see. Before we head to the next segment, we're going to take a little break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about our predictions for the Golden Globes. See you soon. You're listening to the Way Too Indiecast, the official podcast of WayTooIndie.com, where you'll find film news, reviews, and interviews with an emphasis on indie. Follow us on Twitter at WayTooIndie and like us on Facebook. Hey guys, welcome back to the Way Too Indiecast, our first episode of 2015. In the last segment, we talked about the year 2014, our overview and our reactions to last year, but now we're going to look forward. Kind of. I mean, in a way, we're looking back because we're talking about the Golden Globes, which are awards for the year of 2014. We're going to talk about our predictions, who we think are going to win, who deserves to win, maybe some glaring omissions from the different categories. But I'm going to hand this off to Ananda because she's actually got a piece about this that by the time you guys hear this will already be up. Her prediction piece for the Golden Globe. So Ananda, take it away.
Yes. So hopefully by now everyone got a chance to check out me and CJ's predictions for this Sunday's Golden Globe Awards.
We're in the future.
We're in the future. I love talking from the future. Wasn't it a great piece, guys? It was the best thing I've read in a long
I loved it personally. My future self, he loved it.
Yes, I'm sure he did. So I just want to start by saying I love the Golden Globes, and that's weird because who the hell are the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and why do they get to make decisions about awards in the film industry? It's the weirdest thing. Google it sometime. It's a real interesting story, but we do it, and Hollywood loves to go out and pat themselves on the back and like schmooze with each other and drink booze. And Tina Fey and Amy Poehler are hosting, which means it's going to be wonderful. I loved it last year, so this should be really fun. I hate to just start us off with like best motion picture drama, but that is generally the order that my
Tough, huh?
my thing is in. So we're just gonna do that because it's easier and because we've already talked about. Well, okay, I'm not gonna give no spoilers. All right, so I will start by telling you what the nominees are for best motion picture drama, which that's another thing. If you are not aware of the Golden Globes, they also split things up into crazy categories, and we have two.
Amen.
That's actually my favorite thing about.
Yeah.
I know. I like
love it.
simultaneously hate and love it, and it's. Yeah, I'll talk more about that later. But so this is the drama category. The other motion picture category is musical or comedy. We'll get into that in a second. But nominated this year for best motion picture drama is Boyhood, Selma, which a lot of us haven't seen it because it comes out today, future Friday. The Imitation Game, Foxcatcher, and The Theory of Everything. Good list, lots of real heavy hitters, and I will go first and say that surprise, 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 I chose Boyhood as the predicted winner of Best Motion Picture Drama. And the main reason for this is that we're still talking about it, and we just did talk about it, and everyone else is talking about it. So obviously there's a lot of love around this film, and even though I really actually super duper love Foxcatcher, if I had to choose another one, like just personal choice, I think that might be it. But Boyhood's gonna get it. So says I. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
no contest.
Yeah, it's not
right?
really a contest. It's almost unfair to the others.
I know.
But I mean, it's kind of like that a lot of times. I mean, most years you have sort of this front runner. Last year was 12 years. Gravity did give it a run for its money.
It was close last year.
Yeah, it's true. But it was between those two. I mean, pretty much.
Right.
So the rest were, sort of just there in happy just
This
to
is
be
ridiculous, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, this is just a clear front runner. They're really. I mean, Selma is getting some steam. I mean, I will say I've been hearing.
That's my second favorite one. That's my second favorite.
Yeah, and I think as more, like you mentioned, Ananda's just coming out, now, so it hasn't gotten sort of the steam that some of the other films that have already been out have. I'm just glad that Theory of Everything's on the list. I know it doesn't deserve to win. I think anything besides Boyhood, as we kind of all think, is just on there, and they'll have to accept the nomination.
Anything else to say is a distant second.
Oh,
besides
yeah.
Birdman, but Birdman, we might mention that
Different
later
category.
Yeah. So let's move on.
Yeah. The interesting thing to note about all of these films except Boyhood is that they're all based on true life events. So that's kind of interesting. Which, if it does win, and I like I said, obviously I think it will, is great because I think we need to, like we've been talking about, encourage original content in Hollywood. So not that, telling someone's story isn't original, but this is even more original than that. So, okay, moving on. Best motion picture, musical, or comedy. And here's where it gets a little weird because this is a vague, strange category.
Everything else, basically.
Yeah, it's basically, And sometimes every year there's a movie in this category where I'm like, that was a stretch, really? But this year that stretch is Birdman. And I say that because I don't think it very squarely deserves comedy as its genre. It's definitely got very dramatic moments, and it's so heady that like it's stinking drama. But also in this category are The Grand Budapest Hotel, St. Vincent, Into the Woods, and Pride.
That makes me happy, man.
I know. I'm also very glad Pride made it in here. So my choice, as you might have read, is Birdman. And I say that because I think that it barely fits in this category and therefore stands out. And it kind of gives it an unfair advantage because it just wouldn't win under drama. So they're like, oh, stick it in comedy. It'll for sure win there. Like, okay, good, done. What do you guys think?
No contest.
Yeah.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems a little obvious.
I think Grand Budapest has the best shot at it, but I still think it's a pretty distant shot. It's a distant second. But the thing about the Golden Globes is they do tend to have like really shocking winners. Like there'll be times where the category just seems absolutely like There's no question. And the Golden Globes is a little bit harder to predict. They have some wild cards that they like to throw in every once in a while, but I do think it'll be Birdman here. And I agree. I think it's almost unfair. If it was in the other category, I think it would have, it would have been passed over a little bit with Boyhood.
If Pride wins, I'm streaking.
We'll hold you that because you never know.
Yeah.
I'll get on video, man. I got no shame, especially for Pride. I'm proud.
All right, moving along. We've got actress in a motion picture drama. So our nominees are Jennifer Aniston for Cake, Julianne Moore for Still Alice, Rosamund Pike for Gone Girl, Reese Witherspoon in Wild, and Felicity Jones for The Theory of Everything.
Here we go. Yeah. Now we've got a competition.
Okay. No, this is definitely where, if you've read the piece, you'll see that CJ and I finally start disagreeing. Actually, that's not true. We disagreed on actor too, but this is where things, start to get a little like shaken up. And I decided to go out on a limb, and I chose Rosamund Pike. And I'll tell you why. Because I was looking back on last year and thinking about Cate Blanchett's win, right? And I'm thinking, man, she beat out some other people who I think were a little more dramatic. I just felt like maybe they're like sort of looking for fresh blood, and like Rosamund Pike had such a cerebral performance, and it was kind of interesting and twisty. Maybe that will stick out over what I think most people would pick, which I won't say because one of you is totally going to say it. So what do you guys think?
Well, I actually agree with you. I would say Pike, just because I agree that she might not be the front runner, but this is where I think where the Golden Globes might differ from something like the Oscars. Maybe not getting all the buzz, like I think who I know you're talking about, and maybe Bernard might pick. But yeah, I'm gonna go Rosamund Pike on this one. I'm glad that Felicity Jones got a nomination, and Reese Witherspoon. God, people forget about Wild, but I really thought she was amazing in the film.
Totally.
Wait, okay, so just to clear this up, guys, this is a predictive piece, right? Like, this is not who I think did the best job. This is predictive.
Yeah.
But I was predicting that there's going to be a wrench in the tires. Like I was thinking that it's going to be in a different. It would go a different way.
So in my heart, if I was going to pick the one I think deserves to win, I would say Rosamund Pike. But I'm gonna say predictively, I think I'm gonna go left field here. I'm gonna say Reese Witherspoon's gonna take it.
Really?
I would predict that Reese Witherspoon's gonna, and I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people, but I think she's gonna take it.
We were like in left field. You're like in center field or left field.
Where are you? Oh, I mean,
because I think that she probably deserves to win, but I don't think that she will win. But interesting. I think a lot of people are. I mean, Ananda, what would a lot of people assume is going to win?
I think a lot of people are assuming Julianne Moore, which is what CJ assumed as well, which is where he and I started to, differ.
I think that's the best. I think that's the safest pick.
I hope we're all right. Or you and I are right. I mean, actually, I'd be okay if Reese won too. That would also be cool.
I would.
Not that Julianne wasn't wonderful and Still Alice. It's just
I just hate that movie, man. Like she's great in that movie. Like she's really good. But that fucking movie, like I hate it more now than I did like.
Clearly.
Well, okay, yeah, man. I'm not gonna talk.
Don't get into it. You don't go on a rant. We gotta move on.
We
got
so
many more categories. All right, best actor in a motion picture drama. So nominees are Steve Carell for Foxcatcher, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Imitation Game, Jake Gyllenhaal for Nightcrawler, Eddie Redmayne for Theory of Everything, and David Oyelowo for Selma. So also CJ and I did not see eye to eye here. I chose Eddie Redmayne, and mostly because, and like pretty much everyone except Jake Gyllenhaal, similarly in this category, is also in a real life, like they're representing a real life person. And I thought that Eddie Redmayne's, like, it was just like, obviously it's the more overt kind of transformation, but also so difficult that I just couldn't say that he didn't like nail it, and it's really hard because I actually love Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, but I think he's going to take it. Eddie Redmayne.
I'm still mulling over. I actually haven't thought about this in advance.
Yeah,
so I'm still looking at the categories kind of for the first time.
This one's hard. My pick, personally, I would go with Oyelowo, but I don't think he's going to win. I think, you know what? I think Redmayne's going to win too.
All right. Gosh. I mean, he's a newbie, so he's so fresh. Like, it seems like maybe not, but
And, since
Oh.
they don't go hand in hand with the Oscars, and I don't think that he would stand a chance at the Oscars. I just don't.
Yeah.
He might win it here. I think it is kind of. If I had to pick two, I think it'd be between him and
Cumberbatch.
Yeah, for the Imitation Game. I think the Foxcatcher is just a little bit too, maybe, I don't know, eerie, too bizarre for a Golden Globe pick. I don't know. I'm not
That's
sure.
interesting.
No,
Yeah,
I agree. I think he's got a better chance at an Oscar, maybe, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Carell has a better chance at an Oscar than he does a Golden Globe. I loved Eddie in Theory of Everything. I think he was amazing. I thought it was probably one of the best performances I've seen all year. I hope Eddie wins, but don't be surprised if Benedict wins. I guess that's where I'm going to end.
we're just kind of divided, and we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
nobody's betting anything, but maybe we should.
And
Well,
if Jay
by the
Gyllenhaal
way-
wins, I'll be happy.
To me, it's
Oh,
such a
that'd be
crock
great,
that
yeah.
to me it's such a crock that Timothy Spall isn't on here. But I'm probably biased because I love that guy.
That's a good missing one, definitely. Okay, so then we've got actor in musical or comedy, and I kind of skipped over actress in musical or comedy. We'll just circle back around to that. So nominees are Michael Keaton for Birdman, Ray Fiennes for Grand Budapest Hotel, Christoph Waltz for Big Eyes, Bill Murray for St. Vincent, Joaquin Phoenix for Inherent Vice. So my choice was Michael Keaton. Clearly, Birdman was my top pick for the year. Boyhood was a very close second. Don't worry, I'm not against Boyhood, but yeah, I think he's gonna get it. And also, it's just no competition in my eyes. I barely glanced at the others. Yeah, good luck, guys.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
what do you guys think? All right. It seemed like from what you guys just said earlier, you both agree.
I completely forgot about they classified it as a musical, and for that very reason, through all the other categories, I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for them. Kind of unfortunate for some of the other films like Grand Budapest, which I'm glad that it's getting the love, but yeah, my pick's Michael Keaton.
Bernard?
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? I think I'm gonna have to go with Christoph Waltz
What?
for Big Eyes. No, I'm just joking.
I was like, that is not.
I think Ray Fiennes actually did I think he's a closer second for me than maybe for other people. But Michael Keaton's also my pick.
Yeah. Sorry, all other nominees. It sucks that you have to be put in a category with Birdman.
I love that I got you guys with that. I didn't think I was gonna get you guys with that.
I was going to be outraged if you didn't say just kidding, though. I was waiting for it.
Well, guys, read my Big Eyes review to see what I thought of Christoph Waltz in that movie.
I
Sure,
did,
yeah,
so that's why I was really confused.
No, for the listeners, yeah.
Oh, yes, that too. Everyone else. Okay, so musical or comedy actress. Nominees are Amy Adams in Big Eyes, Emily Blunt, Into the Woods, Julianne Moore, Maps to the Stars, Helen Mirren, The 100-Foot Journey, and Quvenzhané Wallis for Annie. Amy Adams is who I chose. We both went with her on this one. So what do you guys think?
Well, like I said, I'm going with Julianne Moore on this one.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't fucking know. I haven't seen most of these movies, and I haven't heard much about any of their performances. So
Yeah. Moving on.
I'll say Helen Mirren
No.
just to keep things interesting. We'll see if I'm right.
Actor in a supporting role in a motion picture. Nominees are Mark Ruffalo, Foxcatcher, Ethan Hawke, Boyhood, J.K. Simmons in Whiplash, Robert Duvall, The Judge, Edward Norton, Birdman. Good list. Real good list.
Yeah, really good. Really.
I know. So this one I did think about a little bit, but I mean, there's just one person on here that I still, I shiver when I think about his role, and it's stinking J.K. Simmons. I'm freaked out by that, teacher from hell. So he got my vote. So what do you guys think? I'm not just my vote. I think he's actually gonna win. So who do you guys think will take it?
I think it's no question. J.K. Simmons.
My heart says J.K. Simmons, and I think he's going to win too, because I don't think he's going to win an Oscar. I think Edward Norton's going to win the Oscar.
I was going to say, Edward Norton was phenomenal, I thought.
He's really good.
Oh,
That's close for me. Those two are close for me.
Those two are
really
close, but I mean, I really, as much as, we talked about, I don't maybe like the film as a whole as other people, his performance is undeniably good. I mean, it's fantastic.
Unforgettable.
Yeah,
unforgettable.
So
Totally.
he edges Norton out a little bit for me, but yeah, I think he wins
Ruffalo's
here.
good too, though. God damn.
Well, and Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, Ethan
like,
Hawke
Hawke's
was
really
really
good
good.
too. Damn, that's a great.
Yeah.
That might be the best category.
Well, other than Robert Duvall. Well, I haven't seen The Judge, so I really shouldn't judge
me neither.
it. But yeah,
Oh,
I
Yeah,
have
I
heard
know.
not great things about it. The
Yeah.
film itself, I don't know about his performance, but yeah,
Right.
good category.
Yes. Okay. So then the supporting actress in a motion picture. But the nominees ended up being Patricia Arquette for Boyhood, Keira Knightley for The Imitation Game, Emma Stone for Birdman, Meryl Streep for Into the Woods, and Jessica Chastain for A Most Violent Year. And this is where I think things are weird about like what defines a supporting role and like who gets to have like what defines a lead. Like certain of these movies seemed like there was like, really, could you say that person was the lead, but this person happens to be supporting. But anyways, so I chose, and this was another one where I kind of decided to assume that maybe there might be some upset, and this is based on last year's pick of Jennifer Lawrence for American Hustle over like Julia Roberts and Lupita Nyong'o. And so I thought maybe if they kind of stay on the same track, they're just gonna like forget Meryl Streep and maybe even Patricia Arquette, and they're gonna go with the new blood, and Emma Stone just might win this one.
Wow.
Ooh,
I know I'm
interesting
being
choice.
real
Wow.
crazy with this
Good
one.
for you. Go Ananda.
That's
yeah.
a bold pick. I like it.
It is. But I loved her in that movie. I thought every scene she was in, she just like dominated, and like even the ones with Edward Norton were just like amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you guys think?
I think I like this category better, to be honest, than the lead actress category. I think this is a pretty strong category, actually. I think you're right. Like there are omissions here. I think there was just a lot of good supporting females this year, though, in supporting roles. Like there was just a ton of them. Like I think you're right, Laura
Tilda
Dern.
Swinton, dude.
Yeah,
I know.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's another one where I was like, "Where's Tilda and all
Yeah,
this?"
I'm gonna go with Patricia Arquette though.
Okay.
Who I think is the favorite. I would say more than likely. Although anytime Streep's name is mentioned, she automatically is thrown into the race. So
Yes, and that's who CJ picked. So
wow,
he obviously thinks also that
interesting. Okay, well,
she's a strong choice.
yeah. What do you think, Bernard?
She is great in that movie.
Yeah, this is a great category. I'm gonna make things interesting here. I'm gonna say my heart goes with Arquette, but I'm gonna say that. Oh God, this is stupid, but I'm gonna say that Keira Knightley's gonna take it away.
Wow.
Really?
I don't know why I'm saying that, but I'm just gonna say it because it'll make it. Because if I'm right, I'm gonna streak. That's just my reaction to
Well,
everything.
I think
Every surprise.
I think that film probably like is maybe the most, other than maybe Into the Woods, like The Imitation Game and Into the Woods are the two more like I don't know mainstream films of the bunch, I guess. Films that maybe
That's
a lot
fair.
of people
Widely
can see.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not like a crazy pick, just because it's gonna be a popular film at the Golden Globes for sure.
And then Meryl Streep is never a crazy pick. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I was
She's
saying.
never a crazy pick. Like
Right.
it's interesting. This is a good category.
All right, so let's just lightning round the rest of these and skip straight to, top pick, best director, motion picture. This one, they don't split into categories, weirdos. But who we got for nominees is Alejandro, and he put it down, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. I feel like for this movie, he went just by Alejandro Iñárritu, but whatever. So Birdman, Richard Linklater, Boyhood, Ava DuVernay for Selma, David Fincher for Gone Girl, and Wes Anderson for The Grand Budapest Hotel. So my pick, and CJ and I did not agree here, was Richard Linklater. And I think I just think that you spend 12 years making a movie, and that kind of perseverance is gonna, deserve a little bit of respect. So
Consolation prize.
Who did he pick?
CJ picked Iñárritu. Yeah. So
that's not a bad pick.
No, and I'm totally supportive of that one too. And part of me wants to see DuVernay get it because she's a woman and she did such a great job. But not enough people have gotten to see that movie.
That's my pick, DuVernay.
Okay, well, totally understandable.
Yeah, my pick is Linklater. But if there was going to be an upset, I would say DuVernay, just because this might be an opportunity to get her an award versus maybe a more difficult time at the Oscars. So
That's true.
They very well give it to her here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sad to see her get it at all. Okay, so moving on to screenplay, also for just generally motion picture. Nominees are Boyhood, Birdman, Gone Girl, The Imitation Game, and The Grand Budapest Hotel. And CJ and I both agreed we felt like Grand Budapest Hotel needed to get this one. For one, because it's not going to get anything else, which is sort of sad. But for two, I just feel like Anderson like really hit his stride with the whole like story within story within story and his quirky relationships and all of that, and like it's one of his best written screenplays of all time. So I think he deserves it. What do you guys think?
I totally agree. I think it's Grand Budapest Hotel is the winner.
I would say it's close for me between Budapest and Gone Girl, but I'm actually going to pick Gone Girl. Gillian Flynn.
I really thought long and hard about picking that one because she did a great job on that one.
It's a fascinating script.
It's
fascinating.
Yeah, and adapting your own novel for a screen, like, that's no easy task.
That is true, and like this is an interesting category just because they don't split them here, and the previous category they don't, and then they also don't split it between adapted and original like a lot of awards do. So that's kind of interesting because the Grand Budapest obviously is a original screenplay, whereas Gone Girl is an adapted. So I mean, there's kind of a big difference there, but they're lumping them together here, so it kind of does make it a little bit more challenging versus at the Oscars they're not going to have to compete. So and in one sense it's kind of more interesting to see them all compete here in a category, but it is a little bit odd maybe.
You know what I gotta say? Congratulations to Graham Moore, who I interviewed for the site. He's a great guy, really friendly person. Congratulations to him for playing with the big boys here, because he's in pretty tall company for his first screenplay. So good job, Graham Moore.
CJ and I think Grand Budapest Hotel, we will see what happens on Sunday. I will just briefly mention original song. CJ and I both chose The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, Yellow Flicker Beat. And I even wrote, I think, something like, I mean, I've been listening to it on the radio for months now. So it's just stuck in my head. Obviously, I love it. But also among the nominees were Big Eyes, Lana Del Rey's song for the movie Big Eyes. And then for the movie Selma, John Legend and Common's Glory. For Noah, the only award this movie is going to see is
Noah
Mercy
came out
is. Yeah, remember that movie? I know.
Holy shit.
Patti Smith and Lenny Kaye put together a song called Mercy Is, and then
right.
Annie, Sia did a song for Annie called Opportunity, which I haven't actually heard, but it's Sia, so I'm probably going to love it, but I love Ward's song.
I love Sia.
Yeah, she's great. Okay, so moving on. And then I will also briefly mention Best Original Score. CJ and I were a little conflicted on this one, but the nominees were Imitation Game, Alexander Desplat, The Theory of Everything, Johan Johansson, Gone Girl, Trent Reznor, Birdman, Antonio Sanchez, and Interstellar, Hans Zimmer. I picked Birdman's Antonio Sanchez because I thought
cool.
Cool. the drums of that film, like I've never heard anyone do that, and you're just so aware of the music the entire film.
Good point.
That I've never had a score be such.
Which is typically a bad thing. It's typically a bad thing.
Usually.
Yeah, but it is meant to stick out here.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love the way it made me feel, and it just fit like the turmoil going on in the film so perfectly. But CJ disagrees with me, and he loved Trent Reznor's music for Gone Girl, so he chose that one.
I'm gonna throw Hans Zimmer in there just because I liked his score for Interstellar. So
his best work in a long time.
Yeah. Yep, I would agree. So that will be an interesting category, though.
I know. And we could be very wrong in this one. I would totally admit that I may not have that one right. But that's what we picked, and so we're sticking to it. All right, Best Animated Film we can talk about a little bit, though. I think we're all going to mostly agree on this one. The nominees for this one were The Book of Life, which Bernard knows how I feel about that movie, The Box Trolls, Big Hero 6, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and The Lego Movie. And CJ and I unanimously agreed the Lego Movie, which our site tends to love it.
Nope, Lego Movie wins.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it's sad that it's animated, and therefore, at least we know with the Oscars, animated films can make it to the Best Picture list, so
that's right.
Maybe it has a shot
Beauty
at that.
and the Beast, holler.
So, way to go, Lego Movie. We love you. glad you're gonna most likely take home a Golden Globe on Sunday. Best foreign language film. We are at our last category, and we're
one
not
of my
covering
favorites.
TV. So foreign language. Our nominees were Ida. Oh man, now you're like making me second guess that. Damn you, Bernard. Leviathan, Force Majeure, Get, The Trial of Vivian Amsalem, and Tangerines, which I did not see. But my choice and CJ's choice was Ida. We both really felt like that one was a strong contender. Though this is a really good list. Yeah.
Yeah, Ida's my pick too, but I would say I got to give a shout out to Get, The Trial of Vivian Amsalem. My review for that's coming out soon, and I really, really love that movie. And I interviewed the director as well, so look out for that one, guys.
So yeah, that's all of them. Well, other than the TV categories, which there are also many of, and we did not cover those ones, but if you want to see the full complete list of nominees, you can find them on our site. And keep them open while you're watching. Also, we will be covering the show live and updated, so continue to refresh our Golden Globes page if you want to see winners as they come in, and we will have that available to you. I'm looking forward to it, though. The nice thing about the Golden Globes is, even though we just spent how long going over all these, it's kind of anyone's game sometimes. Like, that's the fun part about awards. They're
a little bit more, laxed. It's not maybe as stuffy, maybe as the Oscars, maybe not as, I don't know.
The stakes don't seem so high.
Yeah, they're not maybe as important. Yeah. I don't know. I hate to say that, but, it doesn't have quite the prestige maybe as the Oscars. So it's a little more fun, I think. And I do kind of enjoy having musical and comedy thrown in there. It adds a little bit, maybe some films that won't be nominated for Oscars in there. So I tend to like it. Plus, I do, and we all probably do, love television. So I do kind of like to see that too. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, it's true. I love getting to pick those categories too, even though we don't cover them on the site. But
yeah. There's a lot of good television. I think television is it's awesome. There's a lot of good competition out there this year. So
definitely.
Yeah, and I look forward to the Golden Globe Awards as well, and I look forward to the rest of the year for Way Too Indie. We're looking forward to giving you guys more content, better content than ever before. We're excited to hang out with you guys and talk about movies. So come talk to us on the site, waytooindie.com. 2014 is in the past. Now we're looking forward. We're looking forward to the Golden Globes. We're looking forward to perhaps, hopefully, a better year for films in 2015. But for now, we're left with one of my favorite films of all time already, Boyhood, as the definitive film of 2014. Thank you guys for joining us for the first episode of the Way Too Indiecast for 2015. And follow us on Twitter at Way Too Indie. Like us on Facebook. And what else? Where can we find you guys on Twitter, Ananda?
I'm at Ananda Writes, Ananda. You can find me on there.
And Dustin, where can we find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at djansick. That's DJANSICK.
And I'm BJ_Boo. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. See you next time.